the Knicks announcing that they are firing Tom Thibodeau. Our own Stephen Bondi broke the news that the Knicks are relieving Tom Thibodeau of his duties. This is something Bryan and I have talked about for quite some time throughout the postseason because there were fans calling for his firing. Their fans have been calling for this for a couple of years. What is your reaction to this? Because I want to say it's shocking in one way, but then kind of not shocking. So what's your reaction to this firing?
It's very surprising until you think a little bit more about it. Like, we understood the possibility was always there. This is something that we talked about extensively, as Dexter mentioned, throughout the playoffs, and how could you not? We even went to the Celtics series with the mindset that, hey, if they look overmatched in this series, he's probably going to be out. They ended up winning the series, and we were like, okay, maybe he saved his job. And then when you look at the context of how he looked and how the Knicks looked in that Pacers series, it's kind of like, oh, maybe they actually need to go in a different direction. So to me, it was always this. I think there's legitimate questions about whether or not he's the right guy, he's the right fit for this roster. But in totality, it's like, I'm not sure if you're going to find somebody better. The Knicks clearly do think that they're going to find somebody better. I think you make this move knowing what you want.
Well, you better know what you
want.
Yeah,
they'll canvas, they'll do interviews, they'll do all these different things. But in terms of like what's next, I think they have a pretty good idea. They have to have a really good idea of what they want. And Leon Rose, we know, like, he's been smart. I've joked, but actually seriously said he's been the best Knicks GM of my lifetime. And this is basically like going back 3 decades at this point. I think they know what they want.
Well, if you trust Leon Rose, you trust the process you've seen with him, you're going to have to at least try to trust this move. I just want to say what Stephen Bondi had reported here. He said the team felt it's in the best interest of getting to the next level of winning a championship. I think that wording is absolutely interesting. He said the decision was Leon Rose's, who you just mentioned, with the owner's support. So James Dolan was behind this. In supporting this, he's behind this. I think the wording and the fact that it was in the best interest of getting to the next level. Now, the next level's got to be clear on this. The Knicks were 2 wins away from the NBA Finals. The goal is to win a championship. I will say this, whether you are Team Tibbs or you're not Team Tibbs, this move puts the players, which I always say have agency, on notice.
They have more agency now.
More agency. It's like, hey, this for some of y'all, Jalen Brunson, this is your guy, right? Josh Hart, this is your guy. But we don't think he can get us to where we got to go. Y'all got to be better. And I have zero problem with that at all whatsoever. Now, to your point,
about that, actually,
you got to get this right, though. And I think you have to get a coach that is different from Tibbs. And number one, I would say it is playing guys, playing a deeper rotation so you can narrow the gap between yourself and the elite teams in the NBA, the 2 teams that are playing in the finals starting on Thursday. That's got to be better.
In a way, I could sort of see it, but in another way, I think the Knicks have to be careful. Dex, I heard you coming in saying, there were 2 wins away from the NBA Finals. I think we need to kind of pause and be a little bit more analytical when we look at that 2 games away from the finals. Yes, that is what the final stat line says, because it was a 4-2 series win by the Indiana Pacers. However, the Knicks' 2 wins only came in desperate situations. Down 0-2, they had to win that to not be down 0-3, and then down 3-1 so they wouldn't get beat at home. Like, my point is the gap, I think, between the Pacers and the Knicks is wider than I think most fans and most people want to admit. That's number one. Number two, I think in terms of coaching, right? And this is, Dex, we talk about this offline about other sports. Pragmatism to me is the name of the game in the modern sports world. You have to be pragmatic. Have your principles and what you believe in terms of, we believe in offensive rebounding and blah, 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 right? Those kinds of things. But ultimately, how we get to our desired result, a win is a win, man. We're going to do whatever is necessary. And Tibbs, as good as a coach as he is, and I want to be fair to him, excellent defensive coach. I think he was a little bit slow on the offensive end, and I think he's not pragmatic, right? And look, man, the teams are too good nowadays for you to be so dogmatic in your approach that you cannot be flexible and say, let me try something different. Let me do this, right? Ty Lue is the example I always use. Ty doesn't give a you-know-what. Oh, that's not working? Cool. Let me try something else. Because the name of the game is to get wins, right? We're trying to win a championship by any means necessary, right? I don't care what it looks like. I just want to win the thing. So to me, I think that's what the Knicks have to get right in their next coach. Whomever it is has to be pragmatic. And that may mean, Knicks fans, it might not be a name you know. And that might be okay. Part of the thing that like fans don't realize is when you're a competent run franchise like the Knicks are done now, Leon and William Wesley are in constant evaluation mode all the time of everything around them. And it's been 5 years they're watching this guy. And so they are seeing what is happening and they are evaluating him and they're saying, okay, yeah, we're better. All those principles are in, but the improvement in the critical moments we are not seeing, right? We're seeing the same issues hurt us. What hurt us last year in the postseason against these Indiana Pacers? Injuries because we were exhausted and got hurt. What hurt us this year? Exhausted because we played too many, right? They're like, okay, this is a common thing that has not changed, right? So they may have realized we've reached our ceiling with this guy, but we think this group can unlock a level that's even better with a different system and philosophy and ethos in basketball.
I think it's an extremely risky move by the New York Knickerbockers. I mean, you've set such a high floor here. To your previous guest point, Tom Thibodeau took this team out of the abyss. I mean, this team was the laughing stock of the NBA. They were a literal punchline. And you had a head coach that is a very good NBA coach, not just an okay NBA coach, not just a good NBA coach. He's a very good NBA coach. So you are taking a risk of sacrificing that floor and a guy that brings a certain level of competence to a basketball team. And you're going into the unknown now. And anyone that tells you that they know what type of head coach some rando assistant is going to be until they actually get the job is lying to you. All these people that are lying, oh, Johnny Bryant's going to be a great coach. Nobody has any idea. Now, no, they don't. They really don't, especially on the outside. Now, do the Knicks maybe have a pretty good feel for what he brings to the table since he was in the building with them and all that stuff? Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
But otherwise, no one knows what assistant coach is going to be good. Do you remember when everyone thought getting David Fizdale was some coup off of the staff in Miami and what a great coach he was going to be? Everyone loved that move, right? How'd that work out? He was literally the worst NBA head coach I have ever seen with the Knicks. And we've seen some bad ones here, okay? So we don't know what's coming next. Now, maybe Leon Rose has some big surprise in his back pocket that is a sure thing. I'd be surprised. I don't think I don't know what the next move is. I don't think anybody does at this point. But this is a risky move. Was I shocked by it? Borderline. I mean, I think getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I think what eventually made the Knicks do this is the Knicks were a more talented team than the Pacers. And if you're a more talented team, you feel like you should win the series. And they didn't. The Pacers were greater than the sum of their parts, and I think the Knicks were maybe a little less than the sum of their parts. And I think that's ultimately what had them make the move to go away from Thibodeau. We could talk about this roster construction and what's important moving forward, but I think top line, he didn't get the maximum you could out of this roster with the way he coaches. If you're going to make a move, and we talked about how short this window could be, right? You can't wait, right? If you make the move after, and you're not going to make a move midseason. That's you're not going to win a championship if they're making a move midseason. It doesn't work that way in any sport.
Right,
so then you're looking to make a move after next year, and then the new coach has a 1 or 2 year window to try to win. So I get that perspective where if you're trying to win in this window, you have to make the move now. So you give this coach a little bit of a runway, 2 or 3 years to try to get it done. But look, that's why when you asked me the first question, guys, and I said this is a very risky move. And I will give Leon Rose some credit because it would have been very easy to be risk averse and say we won 50 games, if not for a historic blown game in game 1 against the Pacers, which, that's going to haunt all of us that want the Knicks to win for decades, the same way the Reggie Miller, 8 points in 8 seconds game haunted us. But, they were within that blowout from going to a game 7 of the Garden, potentially going to the NBA Finals. And it would have been very easy to say we should have won that series if not for that, historic blown game at the end, which I don't think was on the coach. And let's just run it back and try to get better with continuity. Because look, you see when you bring these new teams together, even the 3 superstar lineup in Miami didn't win a title their first year, right? It took them a little bit to figure things out. So that would have been the easy thing to do. So I will give Leon Rose credit here for taking a little bit of a chance because this is a chance. This is a risk. and you're betting on trying to get better here, and you just hope that whomever you hire, you don't get worse.
It's a sad day, bro. Overall, I think it's a sad day. For me, I appreciated Thibodeau's story about how he dedicated his life to coaching. The Knicks were his dream job. And I wanted to see his dream become reality because that would mean getting a Knicks championship. Unfortunately, all dreams don't manifest themselves. So it is sad to see this era come to a close. But I've said it, and I've been saying it today. This is a day of celebration for Tom Thibodeau's Knicks coaching career. This is a dude who you cannot tell the story about the Knicks resurgence without Coach Tibbs and instilling a winning culture, becoming the 4th all-time head coach in Knicks history in terms of wins, supplanting Pat Riley and about 20 games below Jeff Van Gundy, I believe. Someone who it took 19 years to win one playoff series this century with the Knicks.
Yes.
And 4 out of the last 5 seasons, the past 3 playoff seasons, they won at least one. First Eastern Conference Finals in the last 25 years. Tons of great moments from this era as the Knicks were establishing a foundation, the foundation that made Jalen Brunson willing to sign here, the same foundation that led to the Josh Hart acquisition, the Devo shot in the Garden, Hartenstein, the rise of Mitchell Robinson, single-handedly breaking the spirit of the Cleveland Cavaliers and giving us one of the old-time quotes, the lights are just too bright. Sometimes you got to wear shades and sometimes you got to get sunburned. And that's what Mitchell Robinson did. You don't get any of those moments without Tibbs as the head coach, man. So I salute him. I thank him for bringing one of my favorite franchises, my favorite basketball team back to prominence. And I wish it would have turned out differently, but we move. One other thing I do want to say about Coach Tibbs.
Sure, go.
Shout out to my guy Mills for this. He got a lot of people paid, bro. A lot of folks paid multi-millions dollars. He is the stimulus package for current and past Knicks. Because a lot of folks wasn't getting the paper. Shoot, Shake Milton, when he got traded to the Nets, he got a deal, a guaranteed deal, just so that they can make that deal. A lot of guys, iHeart, who's currently in the NBA Finals, he doesn't get that deal if he's not on Tibbs' team. A lot of guys got paid. IQ, RJ, OG Anunoby. Let me hold a dollar, fam. Please. There's a lot of guys who got paid because of Coach Tibbs. So that's why I said whether you loved him, whether you hate him, whether you outgrew him, whether you longed for him, no matter what the case is, this is a time to salute that man for what he did for the franchise while also having the foresight to say, okay, this era is over. It happens. Nothing lasts forever. It's the circle of life. Now we got to move forward.